name is Desiree Greene. I would like to welcome you to BVC's Caribbean Kitchen. Get yourself a pen and a piece of paper for today's special tour, the making of Guyanese cook-up rice. By the way, this can be served with codfish cakes. If you stick around throughout the show, there will be an added bonus just for you, the actual making of codfish cakes. I know you're still with me, so let's get started. These are some of the ingredients for our cook-up rice. We've got beef. You can use stew meat or any kind of meat, shank meat with bones. We've got ham hock. Traditionally, it's pigtails that we have here, salted beef. Turkey wings or necks are some of the new things that's been added to it, ingredients. We've got celery, chopped onions, scallions, parsley. Normally in Guyana they use celery, which looks like parsley, but we're using Italian parsley. We've got garlic. The one we're going to be preparing today is spinach, and we're using frozen spinach, and okras, which is a Creole type of cook-up rice. Tripe is also added to it. We're going to include thyme, and we're using parboiled rice, and scallions, which is scallions. This is scallions we already have chopped up here. Now this is cooked up in coconut milk, and here's a whole coconut that's not broken. We're going to be using the canned coconut milk because it does come in can, and can makes it easier when you're cooking at home, when you don't have too much time and you need to get it done. You don't have to worry to break a coconut and then try to grate it. You can just use a can. You can also use black-eyed peas, or here's some cowpeas or pigeon peas. Those are some of the ingredients. On a Creole type, they also put sweet potatoes, and yuca or cassava is cooked up into it because this pot is going to be steamed. In addition to that, you've got plantains that you can put in the pot, the ripe plantains, or you can fry them on the side to serve with the complete dish. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to cut the celery and try to mince it a little. So we're going to mince it or chop it in finely chopped because we don't want it too coarse into the food. The same way we did the onions. The onions, you're going to do the onions also. The ham hock, you can boil them or cut them into smaller pieces. Get your butcher, when you purchase it, get the butcher to cut them into small pieces because the bones are big and it may destroy your knife. So you don't want that. The same thing with the pigtails, we got the butcher to cut them. This you want to pre-soak in water to get some of the salt out of it, or you can boil it for about 10 minutes, pour the water off, put some new water and boil it a little to tenderize it. Once it's tenderized, then you're going to start putting all your ingredients together along with the rice and everything else that you saute. All these are very tough meat. So in order to speed up your cooking process, if you have a pressure cooker, instead of boiling it for a long time until it's tender, you'll use the pressure cooker, as we're doing over here. You may hear the noise. We're pressuring the salt beef and the pigtail. Once that process is completed, we'll pressure the tripe, which is also a very tough meat. If not, you'll have to cook this for a long time. Once you've got all of this done, this is finished, and the salt beef also is finished pressuring. You may want to pressure the ham hocks also because that's also a tough meat. If you don't want to pressure it, again, you can boil it. It would take a little long time. If you are really pressed for time, then you're better off pressuring them so it's done quickly, because it would only take about 5 minutes. Once all of that's completed, you've got your meats ready. You can also pressure the meat, your beef, or you can just saute it in a pan, which I'll do in a few minutes. We are going to be making a Creole cook-up rice, which, as I mentioned, which consists of spinach and okras. This is fresh okras that we're using. And the way you're going to check this when you go to the market, you bend the tip a little. If it breaks easily, you know these are tender. So you're going to take those, bring them home. You cut the top of it off, the stem end, and then you're going to just cut it into about 3 pieces. And you cut that up and have them, which we've already done. We've got a bag here with this already cut. This is our spinach. You need about 3 cloves of garlic, which we already minced. Now we're going to take them. We start with the onions first. And my assistant, Miss Greene, is going to pour that into the pot. Once the onion is sauteed until it gets translucent, you can stir that a little. You have a little oil in there, about 2 tablespoons or so. You don't want too much, just enough to saute your onions and the other vegetables you're going to be using. Then we're going to put in the green onions or scallions, whichever one you've gotten. And then once that's cooking a little, we'll put the garlic, because you don't want to put your garlic first. If the garlic is burned, it will taste bitter. Once that goes in, then we'll put in the celery and have that sauteed. Now, for your meat, you should have put some salt and pepper on your meat prior to you putting it in there. So you put about 1 tablespoon of salt and some pepper, your black pepper, and if you wanted to, you could put some garlic powder or a little of the chopped garlic that you just put in there. Since you already put it in the pot, you don't have to put it on the meat any longer. And then we're going to include the meat now into that, the onions and the stuff. But onions, parsley, celery that you're sauteing. We're going to put the stewed beef in there to cook. Now, if you had it pressured where it was cooked until it was almost tender, you can basically do the same thing to it also. Do a little marination that's left on the meat. If it's not, then all you're going to do is put it there to saute, and then you're going to add water to the pot so that add water to the pot. Once the meat is brown, we'll let the meat get brown. Once the meat is brown, then you add some water to the pot and cover it and let the meat cook until it's almost tender. Once that's done, you'll include your pressured tripe that was already cooked, and your salt beef, your pigtail, and the ham hock. You want to put those. And turkey, you can use turkey necks, turkey wings if you want to. If you do not eat pork and pork products, then your option is the turkey neck, turkey wing. It's smoked. It gives it a very nice flavor. It gives your rice a nice flavor when it's finished cooking. Then once that's going on, you can get your spinach, which is right there, my assistant is showing you, and the okras, and you put them into the pot too to saute. And then you would add the rice later, which you're going to see us do in a little while. Okay, this is the meat cooking with some of your onions and green onions, celery. Okay, our meat is finished pressuring. So I'm going to remove the pressure from off the stove and draw cold water on it in order to release the steam. You never open a pressure cooker without releasing the steam. If not, it becomes like a bomb. It's like a time bomb. It will blow up because there is enough pressure in there that would take a house apart. So in order to release it, you'll just draw water, cold water on the side of the pot until all the steam is out of it, and then you open up the pressure cooker. And this is a safety factor so that it does not blow up to your house or burn you or anything like that. So what you want to do is put it again on the cold water, let the water run for a little while, and you'll see that the steam is gone. Once the steam is out of it, you take it back, put it back on the stove, and in my case, you release it, or you can check it. You can see the weight, this is the weight, it changes position. It kind of flops down. So once it flops down, you know that the steam is out of it, and the cover release, or the lid release easily. Now we're finished. There was no steam because the steam is released. We take the lid off and our meat is finished. We can check it for tenderness. So we'll check it. Here's the meat. So we're going to discard our water because of the salt. So we've got our meat in there. We've got the meat. So we'll take that meat and then we would add it into the pot with the beef. In which thing? Okay, we're adding some water to the beef that we've been sauteing so that it can cook. Preferably hot water or water that's been boiling, because you don't want to stop the cooking process. You want the process to continue. When you add cold water to a pot that's been cooking, it has to come to a boil all over again. So when you put hot water, it continues to cook. So we're doing that, and then we're going to cover that so that the meat cooks until it's tender. In the meantime, in the pressure cooker, we're going to put our tripe to cook. My assistant is putting the tripe in there so that can be pressured. And once all the meat has been pressured and cooked, then we're going to add our coconut milk and the rice and the vegetables that we're going to be putting. Not in not necessary order, but we're going to be doing that next. Okay, you can also include bouillons or cubes. That's what they call them again, or here we call them bouillons. You can use that, which is like a ready-made stock or flavor for your rice. You can include that. Here's a Scotch bonnet pepper. You can put that on top of the rice. You don't want to break it, because if it breaks, the food is going to become very hot. Now we're opening up the cans of coconut milk. We're using 2 cans, depending on the quantity. We are going to put our recipe on our website, and it will also be at the end of the show. You'll be seeing the recipes. Okay, now our tripe has completed its cooking process. We pressured it because, again, it's a very tough meat. So we pressure the tripe along with the ham hock because of the bone. So we remove it, and I test it with the spoon to make sure that I can get the spoon through it, which you can see. Let's put this back so I can, okay, you can see when I cut this, it's cut into 2 pieces. So here you go. So this is nice and tender. So now this is completed, this cooking process, so we're going to put that aside. And we're going to check the meat, because remember we left the meat in the pot to cook. We didn't pressure the meat. Make sure the meat is finished. The meat is tender. We do the same thing, just check it a little. It doesn't have to be very, very tender because we're going to add the rice to it. Okay, that's finished also. Once your spoon can go through it, then we know that's completed its cooking process. So that's finished also. Let me just lean this a little so you can see it. I need a mitt. Yeah, an over mitt. to put this on. Okay, so in this pot we've got here's the beef and the turkey neck. These are all cooked now. So we can now move on to our next step, which would be to try to assemble all our product together. Okay, we're continuing our cook-up rice, the making of cook-up rice. Now we've got all our meats are cooked. Meats we went through earlier. Now we're beginning to assemble the dish so that we can complete the cooking process. And what we're going to do is saute some more of the onions that we had chopped in a little bit of olive oil. So we're going to saute that. Remember, we use some of the onions in with the meat to cook the meat. You don't necessarily have to, but it helps to flavor the meat. So the rest of the onions we're going to saute here. You just saute it for a little while until it gets a little tender. Then we're going to throw some scallions or green onions, as they call them, scallions. Let that saute a little. Then since we've got some fresh okras, or okras, Guyanese people call it okras. It's spelled a little differently. So we've got in here green onions and regular onions we're sauteing. Now we're going to throw in the fresh okras and have that saute a little. That's good? Okay, so we're doing this. We're going to saute this a little. So we saute this for about 2 minutes. You see the color starts to change. It goes from a light green to a little darker green. Because all of this is going to be cooking because we're going to put the rice in and then we're going to steam the rice. Okay, next we're going to add the rest of the okras and the spinach. Okay, we're adding the rest of the okras and the spinach to the pot. I think we need a little bit more spinach. You can use a little bit more. Okay, and we're going to continue sauteing that for a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to add our meats, and then we're going to add our rice. So we'll add the meat with whatever juices. This is a bit hot. I'm going to pour that in. Okay. The meat with all the juices in it. Then we're going to add our milk, because the milk is cold and we want it to heat up a little. This is the coconut milk. Put that in so it heats up some. Milk is very thick. So we can add a little water. I'm going to put some hot water to this. put some hot water from the kettle. Again, you're putting hot water because you want to continue the cooking process. Not yet. We need to put a little bit more. Okay, we're gonna add the rice to our okras and our meat. Okay, that's the rice there. Adding it. This is going to be steaming. Once everything is in, we put some pepper and salt to taste. Then we're going to cover it and have it steam. The water should be about 1 inch above the rice because again we're steaming it. You can always add a little water later to it. I'm going to add the bouillons in there, or cubes, you know them as. Put that in there. That would help to give it flavor. You do not need a whole lot of salt because remember we use all those pickled or salted ingredients like the meat and the pigtail. We're starting to boil now a little. So I'm going to stir it a little. Here you're seeing the meat, the okras. You don't want it all to break up. You just want some of it to break up. Eventually. Okay, the pot is bubbling or boiling. Now what we're going to do, once it comes to a boil at this stage, you're lowering your stove so that it simmer or steam, because that's what you want to do. You can also at this point, if your pot is small enough, you can just insert it into the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes and your food will be finished. Okay, before you do that, you would want to also stir it a little. If you stir, you'll see all your okras and your spinach into your rice there. You can put in a little black pepper at this point. Put a pinch of black pepper. A little bit. And now we're going to cover it so that it can steam. We're checking the rice. As you see that it's steaming. I've raised it up. It's still not tender enough, so we're going to add a little bit more water to it because all the liquid has depleted. And we want it to steam. So we can use some of the liquid from the pot that we had the meats in. We didn't throw all of that out, so we can use some of this. Not too much. Just enough because you're steaming this. This is a dish you're steaming. This can also be served with a salad because everything, all the meats are in there. Now that this is this way, we're going to cover it again. Let it continue to steam, and then we'll check our rice to make sure that it is tender or al dente, and then we'll take it off, and then we can start serving. Because some people like to eat this when it's hot or warm. If you're going to do something else with it, like plantains, you can fry that on the side and serve it with the dish. With this is what it's going to be looking like. Okay, you can see that the okras have already, they've fallen apart, but they blended into the rice, pretty much. Okay, so now we're going to cover the pot so that it continues to steam. We have ripe plantain, so we're going to use that. I've peeled it, and I'm going to now cut it, and we're going to fry it to serve along with the cook-up rice. Okay, we've got some very hot oil, and we're putting the plantains in there to fry. Now I'm going to put them back onto the stove so you can continue frying. For those of you that are still with us, you have just experienced the making of cook-up rice, Guyanese style, in living color on BVC's Caribbean's Kitchen. Remember, you can activate our recipes by going to our website
at BVCTV.com.
My name is Janice Briggs.
And I'm Desiree Greene.
Thanks for watching.